All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. Now, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has accused the state of Israel of seeking a wider war in West Asia and of laying traps to lead the country into it. This after it carried out one of its deadliest aerial bombings on Lebanon, in which at least about 500 Lebanese people have been killed and more than 1,600 others have been wounded in this wave of Israeli bombings. Now, for its part, the state of Israel claims that it has struck 1,300 Hezbollah targets inside of Lebanon, which is its deadliest escalation in the conflict that has now gone on since the 7th of October, but since last week has witnessed a very sharp escalation. Now, the continued Israeli bombings has forced thousands of Lebanese residents to flee towards Beirut and Mount Lebanon further north. The latest wave of bombings by the state of Israel has drawn condemnation from several world leaders. Now, condemning the strikes, the Iranian president Masoud Pezeshkian has said that while Iran does not want to be drawn into a wider war, Israel is trying hard to drag other nations into a war and to destabilize the entire region.
We call for a world free of nuclear weapons and the Middle East free of weapons of mass destruction without any preconditions. In a world where civilians in Gaza are ruthlessly killed, state-sponsored terrorism brutally targets children and women, and genocide and assassinations are supported, no document will guarantee peace and development. The end of occupation, the cessation of apartheid in Palestine, and an immediate ceasefire in Gaza are prerequisites for global development and peace.
Iran's recently elected president's stance against Israel has come weeks after Iran launched an unprecedented missile and drone attack against the state of Israel, following the Israeli assassination of several Iranian generals in a bombing attack that it carried out on Iran's consulate in Damascus. Nearly all 300 of the projectiles that were fired from Iran were intercepted along with the generous help of the Americans and other allies by the state of Israel in the month of April. So this, of course, is the latest that is happening, where the Iranian president Masoud Pezeshkian has said that the state of Israel is trying to spark a much wider war and is laying down traps to try and draw Iran into it. This is something that's been stated by Netanyahu in the past, many times over and over again as well. Now, the state of Israel claims that it has struck 1,300 Hezbollah targets inside the Lebanese territory, which is its deadliest wave of bombings in the course of the last 1 week, ever since the exploding pager and walkie-talkie incident. Now, at least about 500 people have been killed in this wave of bombings by Israel in southern Lebanon in just the last 48 hours. And at least about 1,600 Lebanese people have got grievous injuries in this wave of bombings that have been unleashed by the Israelis in the last 48 hours, where the hostilities have escalated very dramatically. So these are some of the scenes that are being witnessed in southern Lebanon as Israel has gone on a rampage of bombing several targets, at least 1,600 targets, 1,300 targets is what Israel claims to have bombed in the course of just the last 72 hours. The Iranian president Masoud Pezeshkian, who, remember, has taken charge after the death of the former president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, has said that Israel is trying to spark a much wider war in the Middle East and is laying out traps to lead Iran into this much wider war. And what is also interesting at this moment is that the Americans have dispatched more of their soldiers to assist the state of Israel in the escalation that has been witnessed in the last 72 odd hours. The latest wave of air bombings by the state of Israel has drawn condemnation from several world leaders, including from the Iranian president Masoud Pezeshkian, who said that while Iran does not want to be drawn into a war. The state of Israel is doing everything that it possibly can to try and drag other nations into a war and to destabilize the whole of the Middle East. So this is the wave of bombing that have been unleashed by the state of Israel as it has tried to target one position after another. Israel claims that it is targeting Hezbollah, but at least 500 people in southern Lebanon have been killed in just the last 24 hours in this wave of relentless bombings that have been carried out by the state of Israel. And to discuss more on this, we're being joined by Dr. Hamid Raza Ghulamzadeh, who's joining us live from Tehran. He's the Deputy for International Affairs at Tehran Municipality and the Secretary General of the Asian Mayors Forum. Now, Dr. Ghulamzadeh, let me in fact start off by asking you about the statement that the Iranian president has said that Israel is doing everything that it can to try and spark a much larger war in the Middle East, but Iran does not want to get drawn into it. What does the Iranian president mean by this?
Thank you very much for having me. You know, the point is that for almost a year, the Israelis could not stand against a group named Hamas in Gaza, which has been the largest prison in the world and which has been under most brutal sanctions and blockade for many decades. But they failed to fight against them and to defeat them in the battleground. So what they can do is let's say the strength of the Israeli regime and its military is in war from distance, like air raids, and let's say intelligence warfare, right, which is the terror attacks that they carried out against many Lebanese leaders or Hamas leaders and the others. So they are trying to shift from Gaza, which has been a quagmire for them, to other regions and to, let's say, to expand the battleground to other areas in the way that they have a strength in that. So they want to move toward air raids and using fighter jets and such military equipments. And on the other side, before that, they try to target the leaders of Hezbollah and other resistance groups. And by that, they want to expand the war, to shift the attention from Gaza to other parts of the world first. And second, they hope that by expanding the battlefield, they would draw Iran and other players into the war so that they can bring the Americans to support them. Right now, the Americans are reluctant in stepping into the ground in the Middle East.
On the face of it, Dr. Ghulamzadeh, on the face of it, the Americans can claim that they are reluctant to get involved in the war. But the fact is, the Americans are sending more of their troops to help Israel out in the escalation that has been witnessed. And I want you to shed light on a very interesting statement that was put out by the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, where he said that Hezbollah cannot stand alone against the onslaught of Israel. Now, this in the last 72, 48 hours, where the very essence of this war has now changed. These are not just some strategic and specific strikes that Israel has carried out. This is whole-scale bombing in southern Lebanon, where 1,600 targets reportedly have been hit. So do you think at this moment, what is the opinion within the Iranian leadership at this moment for assisting Hezbollah? Is there some kind of an appetite to get involved into this war?
No, it's not the nightmare right now. It's not the end of the war and end of the world. So we had a tougher situation in 2006, and Hezbollah managed to expel the Israelis from southern Lebanon at that time lonely, without any physical help from Iran. I mean, Iranians did not get into the war directly, and they did not send military forces to the battleground in 2006, but Iran did support them. And Iran has always said that it is supporting anyone who is standing against the Israeli regime. And it is no secret. So Iran has been supporting Hamas, Iran has been supporting the West Bank, Iran has been supporting Hezbollah, and will continue to do that. So yes, Hezbollah cannot be left alone in this situation, but it doesn't mean that Iran needs to directly get involved into the war. If necessary, Iran can do that, as it was done a few months ago when they actually attacked the Iranian consulate section in Damascus, and Iran retaliated that. There is no problem for that. What we are seeing from the Americans in the region is just a show of power, because they know that they don't have power. If they had power, they could have handled the 20 years of war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they did not need to leave the situation with that terrible conditions that they had. So they are just showing a gesture of power, which is not a real power, actually. If there is a full-fledged war, there would be huge targets that Iranian missiles or even missiles from Hezbollah or Yemen can easily target them. It's not just that easy to bring them here and then to claim that we are going to bombard everyone, and that would be...
We're completely out of time. I think you've made your point, Dr. Ghulam Zadeh. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and getting that perspective from Iran there.
Thank you very much for having me.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.